right, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Rutland Town Freetown meeting. I'm Dan Elk, I'm going to be the moderator, and tonight we're going to start with the school portion, which I will defer to the school board chair.
Thank you very much. I'd like to bring the Rutland Town School Board portion of Freetown meeting to order at 6:03. Please everyone stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I would like to just add approval of the budget under the Freetown meeting budget information agenda. And with that addition, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I'd like to hand things over to Lewis, the finance manager, to discuss the budget at hand. Oh, sorry. General public comment during the portion.
Could I just ask, will there be an opportunity to ask questions, please? At
Sure.
some point?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, I can move the journal. That's what happened last year. We had comments at the beginning or at the end.
Right, yeah,
So,
because I don't know what the budget looks like, so I don't know what my questions are yet, but I'm ready. Thanks.
Lewis, take it away.
So Chris will be sharing a document, slideshow, and there are some documents over here regarding the budget as far as the tax recalculation, as well as a document regarding the common level appraisal or CLA. So be sure to grab those. They have some information in there. So we're looking at the FY27 proposed budget. Currently, the budget that's being proposed, total expense is up by 1/3%, so less than 1%, which is approximately $40,000. The reason why the budget is up by so little this year is the budget was in really good shape last year, and the board made some decisions last year to do some one-time building repairs to put us in a good place for this budget cycle. So the inflationary increases in contractual wages and benefits for staff are being offset by those savings that we're having this year due to repairs, the one-time repairs that were in the budget for this current fiscal year that are being taken out for next fiscal year. And that was repairs that we had done for the HVAC system, as well as some flooring and asbestos abatement. Additionally, there's some decrease in secondary tuition because the graduating class, the 8th grade class this year, is a lot smaller than the 12th grade graduating class that's coming off. So we pay for 9 through 12. So the ones that are moving on to secondary tuition is a lot smaller class than the ones that are graduating that we no longer have to pay for next year. So educational spending, that's the amount we have to raise in property taxes. It's a calculation of our total expense, which we just talked about, minus any local revenues or anything other than property taxes, such as tuition payments that we receive for students that are outside Rutland Town that are coming and participating in Rutland Town, as well as interest payments and grants we receive, any other state or local revenues. So education spending right now is up by 2.6%. And the reason why education spending is up by that amount as opposed to the expense, which is less than approximately a third of a percent, is because we have less one-time revenues. So in FY26, we used a large surplus. It was approximately $424,000. This year, we only have a surplus of $265,000 that we're using to offset taxes. So that reduction in surplus, since it's less, is increasing the amount we have to raise to cover the budget. So this slide shows the calculation of the tax rate. There's several steps in the process, some of which we have control over, and then some of which we rely on state data. So the first two lines is really what the board has control over. That's our total expense, which the board approves, and that's what the voters will approve at the ballot. And then education spending, which we just talked about, which is the amount we have to raise in property taxes. After that point, we're really relying on a lot of data that we receive from the state that trickles in starting in December. So long-term weighted ADM, this is a student count that's it's based on a 2-year average of weighted student counts, and it's weighted based on several different factors, including poverty, population density, ELL students, level of instruction, like secondary students are weighted more heavily than elementary students. So we're seeing a slight decrease in our long-term weighted ADM. We then take our education spending and divide it by our ADM to get our spending per pupil. We're looking at a per pupil spending of $14,056, which is a 3.85% increase. The property yield, this is a number that's set by the legislators. We currently are using the tax commissioner's recommendation based on the December 1st letter that he puts out. That number is $8,849, an increase of 2.94%. An increase in the yield decreases tax rates. So our equalized tax rate is $1.58, which is less than 1% increase. We then have a state incentive that was put into place 2 years ago based on a new law that was based on Act 127 and H 850. And that incentive is 14 cents. So we deduct that from our equalized tax rate to get a tax rate of $1.44. So up to this point, tax rate is looking pretty good. The last piece of the calculation is to apply the CLA. The CLA is common level appraisal. It compares the fair market value of your home to the assessed value of your home. When the two are equal, CLA is at 100%. But as the prices of your homes increase and so the fair market value increases over the assessed value, it drops the CLA to account for that and it increases your tax rate. So for example, and the document that's over here explains the whole process, but since school taxes are equalized across the state, and to make it fair, they want to make sure that all towns and all taxpayers are taxed evenly. So if your values of your homes increase and you haven't had a reassessment, then they need to raise the same amount of taxes that you would if you had a reappraisal by increasing your tax rate. Over the last 3 to 4 years, home values have skyrocketed across Vermont, in pretty much all towns. So we've been seeing drastic reductions in the CLA, which is then driving up tax rates. Last year, the state put in place a new calculation to help increase the CLAs by putting into effect a state adjustment factor. So even though you're looking at a CLA in FY26 of 100%, that doesn't mean the assessed value and fair market value are equal. That is an adjusted CLA based on that adjustment factor that the state put in place last year. But as you can see, the CLA dropped by 14.43%. So that means the value of your homes in Rutland Town on average increased approximately 14% last year. That increase in home values is raising the adjusted tax rate to $1.67, which is a 22% increase. Slide. This graph shows the tax rate over the last 5 years. The orange line represents your actual tax rate, and the green line represents just a trend line. As you can see, just looking at 2 years ago, the taxes were at $1.57. Last year, you saw a steep decrease in taxes, and this year we're going back up. That was a one-time dip. But if you calculate the average increase over the last 5 years, it's a 5.3% increase. And if you look at just the last 3 years, it's a 3.5% increase over the last 2 years, the average increase. It's 11 cents. This chart just shows of the taxes that we're raising in the town of Rutland Town if we're, one of the questions I always get at town meeting day is how much are we sending to Montpelier? And that Rutland Town is right on that borderline. Some years we're sending money to Montpelier. Some years we're getting money from Montpelier. So for example, in 2 years ago in FY25, we were receiving, actually we were sending 444, let's see. So in FY25, we were sending 444,000 to Montpelier. That's when your tax rate went up significantly. But last year we received 665,000 in taxes. So the state sets the tax rate. That tax rate is applied to the grand list, and then the town treasurer collects all the taxes. In some years, a portion of those taxes are being sent to Montpelier because it's in excess of what you need to collect for the school. So that was the case in FY25. But in this current school year, Rutland Town was not collecting enough in taxes, so we're being supplemented with money from the ed fund to the tune of $665,000. FY27's amount is unknown at this point until budgets are final and tax rates are final. That is all of the budget data. If there's any questions or board comments.
I mean, we've talked about this since October. Yeah, I think, a month ago, we felt extremely comfortable with the budget that we put forth. With the expenses held, pretty tight. And, within everything within, the scope of what we can manage. I got the CLA adjustment piece, and as any taxpayer, like initially I'll just speak for myself as a Rutland Town resident, like my initial response after having talked about the budget for 5 months was like, what the heck, right? But I try to look at it like in a broader scope of over the past 3 years, what was it? 157, 138, 167, blended over that 3 years is a average tax rate of 154, which the average is trending down from what it was even a couple of years ago. Doesn't make the household budget any more comfortable in some respects, but in terms of like what I feel, the board supporting a budget that we spent 4 months on within the scope of the calculations that we had, and trying to do my homework as far as like Rutland County and other areas and what their budgets are landing at. We came out of our last meeting still feeling pretty comfortable with that. And not knowing what the CLA may do next year, or if that calculation will go out the window entirely when they implement, the whatever, but the formula, foundation formula they're looking to implement. The things happening in Montpelier are largely, if not indefinitely, out of our control. So I encourage you guys to reach out to them. I've been listening to some, ed committee meetings and things like that, and I don't think they have a silver bullet for kind of where we're at and what we're facing. But I purely look at the 350 kids within the school and the nearly 550 if you count our secondary students, and look at it in that regard. So I think the school's done a phenomenal job, not only with education but also the social aspect, and also trying to be a real member of the community. So sticker shock for sure. But like I said, if I try to look at it in a grander scope of a few years, and not what the calculation might change, within an 8-month period. Any board, Jeff, do you have anything to share?
Oh, we were just really feeling great about this last board meeting. And we bring up CLA and all that stuff. Took a little wind out of our sails, that's awesome. That to me, anyway, look at that much bigger increase than he originally thought we would have, so we'll just have to deal with it, I guess. People in Montpelier, I'll say it again, they're not doing their job up there. Every town in the state of Vermont is going to be hurting.
Welcome, sir. I just gave my mention of how we try to look at it as a board of greater scope of like 3 years versus the initial hit on the CLA that we just witnessed. There were still, on average over 3 years, 154 versus 157 where we were, as far as the chunk of the budget in general, the total expense would be in a fraction of a percent, and still, I think within reason of, ed spending factor and things like that. Things are out of our control, and if we make immediate rash decisions on those, I think it's maybe a worse spot. So you can join in on that conversation if you have anything to share or any thoughts on that, or I can welcome the public if they have questions first.
Sure. Sorry, I'm late. Well, I said before you opened the phone, I said, well, I guess every year we prepare a budget that we think is appropriate for what the community needs, what our kids need, what our teaching staff needs. I think we did a good job. Year over year, it's essentially the same budget. We didn't add any fluff in. We had some surplus we used in the right spaces to make sure we're keeping up with the capital appreciations of the building. They changed the CLA formula last year, which helped us to the tune of 11% decrease in taxes. And this year, dropping off, whether it was 2020 or 2021, the average of our CLA dropped 14%. And it's used against us. It's really hard to consistently build a budget for what we need when the formula changes year in and year out, since they haven't made any decisions in Montpelier on how they're going to restructure the state and cut some of the waste. So we pragmatically take an approach of what does the school need, and then you found out in January, here's the new formula, and here's what's going to happen. I don't think it's fair to the staff, to the kids, to try to react every January to whether we get a benefit or not a benefit, depending on what property values are, who they're trying to get to pay for things to drastically change your budget when it's the amount of kids. And we do have to prepare for a large cohort of 8th graders coming down the line, or
We had 52 that graduated last year.
yeah. So
7th is a big class too.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a fair amount of kids we're tuitioning in from high school to the next 4 or 5 years. So I think we always consistently look at student numbers and try to project the future. And the good news is we have a pretty steady student population.
I will open that word up. Yeah, sure, please.
I just concerned about, I just want to make sure we keep up the quality of our school. And because that impacts the quality of our town, it's one of they go together. People will come here, people have come here because of the quality of life here in Rutland Town, services we have, and the school we have, it attracts families. So I just concerned, for 1 year, I do want to make sure we keep up the quality. And our job as a school board is to meet needs of students first and be fiscally responsible, which is what we were doing so well until, what was it, January 1st? What's today? That took us by surprise. And it seemed to me, as just a regular person, a financial person, that we have to pay for our services, and it either comes from our appraisals on our homes and businesses, or on our tax base that is set. I mean, it has to come from somewhere. So it's- everything works out for cost.
Excellent.
Any questions?
Questions? Concern?
I do,
Sure.
of course. I only have three, so it's not that bad. Do you happen to know how many tuition students we have coming into the school? Not the secondary ed students, but the students that are from other towns that are coming in. I know in the past year, we had a fair number, and I think a lot of them actually graduated, but I was just curious if you had that number,
We budgeted for 6, but we have 7.
6 or 7.
We budgeted for 6 students for next year.
We currently have 7.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And then, you talked about like, using the surplus right now, like 265,000, I think is the one you quoted, Louis.
Yeah.
So, if budgets happen and, there ends up being a surplus after that, like, last year there was quite a big surplus, and this year we have no idea, right, until all the amounts are paid. Is there a plan to put some more of that surplus towards that, or is it too late, or is that a decision that the board will look at that time?
So there's a 2-year lag on the surplus. So the surplus that we're using in FY 27's budget is the FY 25 surplus, which is the year that ended on June 30th, 2025.
Okay,
So the surplus, if there's a surplus for this year, it would be used in FY 28's budget.
perfect, okay, thank you. And then my last question is, in the budget, was there any reduction in force or reduction in force, or are there staff that's like leaving, retiring, and replacing of that staff members in that? Because I didn't hear that at your presentation, so I was just curious.
Do you want to answer that? There's no reductions in force in this budget.
It is not funny. Okay, and then replacement of staff, and like, is there a plan to replace staff if they are leaving? Or is that, like, if a person is retiring, is there,
I don't want
There were no budget cuts in this.
Yeah, I don't
No
wanna-
staff, no staffing cuts in this.
no staffing cuts? So the current staff number, if it's 50 people, it's 50 people for the next year,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
I'll speak, I don't feel like I'm out of turn here, but I guess this is from my perspective, right? Like, if it's just generally like in scope of like saving a penny or two on the tax rate, right? Making a decision like that. I think we've seen the challenges of finding quality teachers and staff, right? Period. And I also don't feel that what is happening in Montpelier is it's going to make that pool any deeper, right? Like if someone's going to make a decision in education in the next 2 years, are they going to choose Vermont over New Hampshire, Massachusetts, or New York, if they have the choice? So when we said earlier about making, maybe short-term decisions, whether it be staff or programming or anything like that, it doesn't seem like the most practical choice, so we're really trying to do our due diligence not to do so.
That's it.
All right. Anything else? All right. Well, that's our.
Do you know how many kids are coming in this year?
Kindergarten? Yeah, we have 30 on the list already.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's one.
No, that's today. It can always change. We usually get about 5 over the summer, but that number can change. We've gotten 11 registered one summer, so.
And we're graduating class of 20 or so.
7, I think.
20.
Yeah, we have a pretty good cohort.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so our 8th grade class is 20, rough, or is it?
27.
Oh, it is 27. I thought it was less than that. A lot of girls in that. I know 7 boys, so it must be an abundance of girls. So, you know, what's coming up is gonna should bolster our student population too. Excellent. All right, well, I appreciate your guys' time and hearing us out aspect. So then, just looking for approval. I'll take a motion to approve the budget as considered.
So move.
Any
I'm
discussion?
gonna say it out loud.
The amounts on,
That's it.
That's in here.
Oh, sorry.
I have a motion that the Rutland Town School Board approve budget to expend $11,508,760.44. Estimates result in per pupil education spending $14,056.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Passes. Thank you. And now I would look for approval of the warning that was just read, for the budget for town meeting there. Looking for a motion to
I'd like a
approve that
motion.
particular warning.
Send orders.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Passes. I will take a motion to adjourn this portion of the pre-town meeting.
motion to adjourn?
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
That concludes the school portion, and we'll move to the town portion.
What? I think I definitely line, so I'm still. Miles an hour.
But instead of a hard spot, only use our name.
You would turn like that. A lot of cars here.
Hey, yeah.
There's two.
Oh, sorry. All right. Okay, take the tape. We ready? We're ready.
All right, now I will start by reading the warning. So the Rutland Town warning, the legal voters of the town of Rutland, Vermont are hereby warned and notified to meet at the Rutland Town Elementary School on Post Road on Monday, March 2nd, 2026 at 7 p.m. to discuss Articles 1 through 23. At the close of business, the meeting shall recess at 7 a.m. Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026 at the Town Hall in Center Rutland for voters living on the west side of Route 7 and the elementary school on Post Road for voters on the east side of Route 7. The vote by Australian ballot on Articles 1 through 23 inclusive. Polls will close at 7 p.m. on March 3rd, 2026. I will read the articles one by one. If there is somebody that's going to speak to them, they can do so at that time, and then there will be some time for discussion. So Article 1, shall the voters authorize the select board to approve $1,433,718 and no dollars for use towards the operating of the general fund budget to be offset by anticipated income and local option tax receipts from the city of Vermont, the remainder of which, if any, to be raised by taxes.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Folks, if you would take out a couple of the papers. My name is Mary Ashcroft. I'm chairing the select board. And with me tonight are Sharon Russell, Mary Ashcroft, Kurt Hathaway, Joe DiNardo, and Matt Getty were all the select board members who have put together these budgets. In the audience are folks who are going to speak to their budgets. This is something a little new we're going to try. Tell us if you like it. They already have told us they don't like it, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to have the department heads speak to their own budgets, okay? As much as they are comfortable doing so, or in some cases, even if they're not comfortable doing so, we would like them to talk through their budget and let you know who they are. Our process started in November with subcommittees of our select board meeting with our departments, coming up with the budget proposals, looking at what we spent last year, you know, the usual budget process. And then we have put together these budgets and then run them on a budget meeting in December through the select board. And the set of budgets you're seeing have been approved by the select board for recommendation to you for vote. This is your opportunity to ask questions, and we can do them one at a time. Well, let's start with the shocking sheet. Okay, this is the summary sheet, which has the proposed spending and the proposed income, and it has the anticipated increase if you approve these budgets in spending, and then offset by our anticipated revenues. So yes, income expenditures that we are proposing across all of our town budgets, general, highway, police, fire, and rec, will be up 14.56%. That's a lot. However, so will revenues be up by 7.41. So the actual increase in what we're spending over revenues is about 7.5% higher than in past years. And I expect that you will want to have more details on that. Okay, a couple of things to keep in mind, and this goes across all budgets. The cost of living increase, Social Security, is 2.8% projected beginning January 1st. We looked at that as a board and we decided to increase what we pay our town employees by 3% across the board, slightly higher than COLA. In a couple of cases, and we'll touch on those in different budgets, we have increased a couple of key folks and folks who haven't had their income adjusted. We've increased them by more than 3%, and we'll hit those in the budgets, and we'll tell you the reasons why. Of course, as you increase spending on salaries, you increase spending on, FICA, Social Security withholding, and all of the other things, including that child care payroll tax, which just popped up last year and which we now have to contribute as a town. Health insurance has also gone up, and this is a good benefit we offer our employees. And because of that, but we did do something more. There were big increases projected, but we, as a select board, instituted a policy of allowing employees to opt out of our health insurance coverage and go on their spouse's plan and then receive half of what we would be paying otherwise for them. They get it as increased income to them. So that is a slight savings to the town, so that did reduce what we are paying in health insurance, but it still is an increase overall over last year. Okay, now on to the general budget. Let me just double check and see if I've hit the highlights. Okay, let me talk first about, I get the fun part. I get to talk about revenues, and then Joey's going to explain why we're spending so much. So a couple of places where income has gone up for the town. Thanks to the efforts of our delinquent tax collector, we have strong recapture of taxes that haven't been paid. Don Chaffee has been doing a good job getting people to pay the taxes, and we project again $200,000 income coming in. That isn't an increase over last year, but it is a good, strong revenue stream. Interest is up, and we're projecting about $80,000 more in income for us due to interest this coming year. Our transfer station is generating a little bit more in coupons. And the big factor that we've decided to increase is on page 2, about a third of the way down, our local option tax, our 1% tax on rooms and meals and sales and use. That has been performing strong enough that we're increasing our anticipated revenue to $1.4 million. So that's up $100,000. Could we go higher? It's been strong enough this year. Maybe we could, but we don't know what's going to happen beginning July 1st and that whole coming year after that. And remember, we're trying to guess, in a way, what's going to happen in about 6 months from now. Okay, so we have stronger than last year anticipated money coming in. And I think now I'll give this to Joe and he can start running through, remembering that we're going to be calling on department heads in town clerk's office, for example, would be our first one, to explain their portion of the budget. Okay, Joe.
Excuse me. So we'll start out, we have the usual stuff, as Mary indicated, the Social Security goes up as pays go up. So this year it is level funded, so we should be okay. The new child care contribution is level funded, as is the select board salaries. The town listers, we have a decrease there due to a change in personnel in the lister's office, so that will be slightly different. We have an increase in the town clerk and town treasurer. Those both line items went up a little bit according to our 3% increase. Does this reflect the increase that we voted the one time? It does.
And the increase on top of that as
Yeah,
well.
so the board voted to give the town clerk and town treasurer $1,000 increase for each of those items plus the 3%. The assistant town treasurer and town clerk, that has actually gone down. Long time town assistant clerk and treasurer Sue McGee has decided to retire, and Deborah Hall is going to be filling in and taking her position, and we adjusted her salary accordingly. We move on now, town administrator Bill Sweet, and we added a one-time increase of $2,000 to his salary. Bill has been taking on more and more roles for the town, and we felt that was necessary. And so his salary has gone up that amount plus the 3%. And these numbers will all take effect on July 1st of 2026. Board of Civil Authority is up slightly, ballot clerk slightly, office help salary. This is for part-time office help that Carrie may need to call on at any time. And we've put an amount in there to allow her to hire personnel, that will help her out. We are now get down to the health officer's position. That's down slightly on a number of consultants and his salary. Supplies are level funded. If he's not here, so if he wanted to speak to his own, we could. This actually is Mike Delahanty, is the first constable, excuse me. His salary has gone down slightly to $7,000. And then we move on to the second constable. And JP is our second constable, JP Fagnet. He does the majority of out there doing traffic and other assistance, and his salary has gone up slightly. The supply went down a little, level funded on vehicle hours. First constable equipment is level funded. First constable supplies level funded. First constable vehicle level funded. Second constable equipment went up. And I don't remember exactly what JP, there was a particular item JP was looking for that we.
Federal reimbursement.
Was it?
No, it needs light bar for.
Light bar, that was it, the electronics on his vehicle, this is the second vehicle they've been on, and they're starting to show some age. So, we were moving on with that. We get down now into the town office, portion of the expenses, postage, up a little bit, the printing of the town report, town hall supplies, recording supplies, microfilming. Most of these are just slight increases, nothing too substantial. Then we have the election supplies are up a little bit. We will be having 3 elections, I believe, this year. One in, there'll be two in primary, one in November, and then our normal March. So we added a little bit for those. The street lights is the electricity for those. And we are at that point. So that's the first portion. Any questions on that? We're down to where we are. Yeah. But,
Joe.
okay, go
Are you
ahead.
guys all ready for my 10 questions?
Oh, yeah. You well, you notice we have an official moderator now.
On that second page for town listers, Joe, you mentioned like there's a change. Does that mean there's something less town? Or just, there was a decrease in the budget, but you mentioned there was a change in the personnel. I didn't know if that means we're having less listers or.
Yes, Marcia Choppy, this will be Marcia's last year, and I don't believe anyone is running against Marcia.
Okay.
I don't know, so.
We have to anticipate filling 3 positions. So if no one runs, we appoint, and then that person runs in either August or November. So we have to anticipate it, but because they would be new folks, the amount that we're paying per hour would probably be down.
So do you currently have 3 people right now?
Yeah, but not 3 full-time.
Yes,
Right. Okay.
Marcia's considered full-time or very, and then the other 2.
She's got a replacement right now. So, and the whole history behind that is, in years past, we used a consultant, outside consulting, to do our personal property taxes. That consultant retired, so last year we moved money from the consulting line to the lister line. We weren't sure what the workload was gonna be for the listers during that time. So now that we've gone through a year of the listers doing personal property, we were able to decrease that labor down, because they ended up taking it on and really didn't spend much more time at it, so.
And then down a little bit further, it talks about office help salary. Can you explain that a little bit to me? Like, what is this office help? Is it in the town clerk's office?
Pretty much, yes.
And
It's,
people on staff that just come in, or are they there every day? Or?
so, we have had 3 persons in the town clerk's office. 2 of them have retired. And now that leaves us with 2. So we may, and this will be up to Carrie, she may be looking for some part-time help and have someone that would come in and help them on a part-time basis. She's done this before. Okay. And if they deem at some point that the 2 of them can't handle the workload and we do have to hire someone, we needed to have funds available that would be there to hire somebody if it would needed to be part-time or full-time. And this would get us started.
Right. And then I just want to ask this question. I apologize. Actually, I'm not sorry, but the town clerk and town treasurer is the same person, right?
Yes.
But it's like almost like it's 50%. Is that kind of what it is? But it's a full-time position, half and half. Is that?
Yeah, right.
Essentially, it's almost like that. 30,000.
If you look on your ballot when you vote on March 3rd,
Yeah.
they are separate elections. And I don't believe in my time here as a voter, I've ever seen this, but in reality, you could have 2 different people in that office. They are separate elected officials.
Right. So there's that one person there, and then you have the assistant to the clerk and the treasurer.
Right.
In that one office. And so this office help is that 3rd person that might be in there to help. And the
Yeah.
town administrator is completely different.
Bill works for the board.
Right. That's right.
And he does all the legwork to the board, and he does the 911 stuff and a number of other, how many, Bill?
Commission work.
Yeah, so Bill does, and that's a kind of a job that like, oh, well, we'll just give this to Bill. So, but those are his functions, so.
That's all I have right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So we are, damn, Larry's not here, is he? No.
Yeah, Larry's
Larry's here, where is Larry? You want to do yours?
Yes.
Okay. However you want to do it. Yep, perfect. I didn't see it.
Okay. Transfer station. There are a couple changes there, but not a whole lot. My biggest one would be the, engineering. And that is on line 035192. You can see this year, I was charged $16,000, okay? That's for the old, landfill. If you go down there on that, right across from the town highway, you'll see these white pipes coming out. Those are, well monitoring pipes. So the state has added more tests to us. We haven't found anything that's out of the ordinary or anything like that, but still the same, but the price keeps going up and up and up. So I was told that this year wouldn't be that bad to budget 10,000. So that's what I did. The next one here, hazardous, waste removal. I kept that the same, but starting in 26, they tell me the state's gonna start kicking in the money for the hazardous waste days. So that's another one we'll have to wait and see if it happens. Food scraps. Food scrap, they just keep going up and up and up and up. When we first started this, I was paying $100. Now I'm up almost over $300. Okay, we don't charge people for that. Food scraps are entirely free. Same as the recyclables. And if you can see that one there on line 035199, I jumped that up another 1,000 because I'm not getting nothing back on recyclables. I have to pay. That costs me money. So between the transportation and what I pay to get rid of them, there's the 11,000 right there. Hopefully, it'll start coming around again, but I don't see anything happening anytime soon. My budget altogether was up about 7% from last year. Are there any questions about any of those line items? It's very simple, basic. I'm held hostage. Yes.
I'll probably mention the increase in the, coupon purchases.
Okay.
That was not paid for.
Yeah. Coupons that you're buying right now are $50, $3 a bag. Starting July 1st, I will be going to $80, $4 a bag. Yeah, it's got it right here. There's a couple other changes in here for July 1st. So, pickup trucks going in the CD, small pickup trucks, I went from $25 to $30. I went up $5 more. Okay, I'm just really breaking right there. The larger trucks with no rack or anything like that is $35. I went up 35 now, I went up to 40. 5-gallon pails that aren't recyclable or contaminated, I'll be charging $1 a piece to take those in. Start July 1st. Wood pallets. I'm already started to charge people for $3 a piece to bring those in. It costs to get rid of these things big time. So. So, oops, sorry. Is there any questions on that? Transfer station? I can answer or try to? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So we are on, item 35201, town hall electricity. Down slightly. And that may be a factor that the police department has moved to their new facility, so the, usage is a little less because they're not there as much, so a little less usage there. Fuel oil is down a little. Phone and internet are pretty much level funded. Highway, town, hall maintenance is the same. Town hall cemetery maintenance is the same. Professional services is up just slightly, and we anticipate any needs there. The attorneys, general attorney stuff is down a little. Tax appeal attorneys are still level funded for retirement. Stormwater is level funded. And we get into the, clerk and treasurer training, and we increased that a little bit. Carrie wanted to do some new stuff and, take some different classes, and I'm pretty sure Deb will be doing those along with her, so that's what that's for. The mileages and that stuff are all pretty much, we did add an amount in for the second constable of $1,000 for mileage. And then other mileage is, level funded, administrative mileage. And then we get down to the health officer, and his mileage is there. General insurance has gone down 10,000, and I'm not sure why. We won't ask questions. The health insurance is down slightly, and that has to do with like we mentioned, there's an increase, but we did offer the buyout to employees if they so desired. Our new equipment is down slightly. Copiers, that's the rent and maintenance for our copiers. Advertising's pretty level funded, and then we get down to the planning commission. Remember?
Yeah.
Your turn.
Planning commission, it's the 035-260s, except for the pound keeper, which is a 268. It's a little unknown right there. So we've got, we don't have a whole lot. We don't spend a lot with the planning commission, but we need to keep up with a few things. The legal fees are for town attorney when we need his help. We're doing a subdivision ordinance right now, so we've had to use quite a bit of his time there. So that's gone up from 3,000 to 4,000. We're asking. The commission dues, this is the Rutland Regional Planning Commission, and that's holding steady. You can see in years past, it was quite a bit less, but they went to a new system and they're charging by population. So 4,000 roughly equals to the number of people we have in town. Planning commission salaries are the pay that we give commissioners, and that's just going up with a 3% cost of living. Planning commission miscellaneous is what it is, $500. Advertising is for the hearing, for the notices in the newspaper. That's level funded as well. And then we have a little bit in there, $500 for consulting fees that we use off and on. Sometimes, last time we used consultant was when we were doing the stormwater ordinance for the Moonbrook watershed, and we got somebody up in Rutland to help us with that. So yeah, that's the planning commission. Question?
Permits and stuff go through the planning commission? What does that go for?
Money for the permits, the money you pay for permits?
Well, the permits in general. I have an issue on next to my property. You also just drive up there and see how pretty it looks. It's a metal building and solar panels that are right next to my house. And nothing in this town could do it. Anybody, it can happen to anybody in this town, and nothing can be done about it. That's a big problem you guys need to work on. Because you go by my house and see the ugliness that's sitting there. Right next to a house is terrible. And it's like, if it was next to your house, I bet you could be doing something about it, so that's all I'm going to say.
I hear you, if the issue of zoning comes up periodically, there are strong feelings both ways on zoning, so.
And zoning would allow, one thing you could do zoning is like a setback from property lines. No construction, no design, 50 feet from the property line, 100 feet. But we don't have zoning.
Something that needs to be worked on. It's awful.
Okay.
So I had a question about something that you went over before. Went to planning. Can I ask now or should I wait?
Just better do it now.
All right, perfect. The second constable mileage, like, is that like if he's going to, like a training? What is that mileage? I'm not quite clear what that means.
He's used that for closing the gates at Northwood at nighttime.
Okay, perfect.
It has to do with how the state police dispatching system works on. So he's using the mileage when he's not on duty with the state police, but he's driving. So like when he goes close to the gate,
Yeah.
and I think if he maybe goes down to the courthouse for court date or something like that, he's been using the mileage. It has to do with how the system tracks.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. I just wanted clarification. Thank you.
All right, so we are on to Pound Keeper. I'm not sure if Pound Keeper, if that is still Paul Williams. I think it was.
I think it was.
Yep, and we always budget $100 in there for whatever needs. Most of the next items, starting with the LCT dues, are fairly level funded, slight increases, a little bit. The fireworks for 4th of July, as everyone knows, this year is the 250th anniversary of the country. Everybody's going to want fireworks around 4th of July. And we anticipate that to get North Star to do fireworks, there's going to be a premium. So we have not been in touch with them yet, but and actually this is for, it would be, since this starts July 1st, we don't know what they're going to bill us and when we're going to do. So we just put that in as an anticipation of an increase. Townwide celebration, level funded, everything's level funded. We get down to the county tax and that went down slightly. Tax collector salary, that's no issue. Marriage license, and I believe some of these, Carrie, if you want to speak. I'm not sure what that number represents. Is that just printings or filings?
So the marriage and the dog, we have to pay the state a portion of each of those that come through our office. So it's kind of a guessing game, but you look back at our actual numbers and kind of go from there. But the dogs have been decreasing every year. We're getting less and less, but people still own these dogs. So the amount of money that we send to the state isn't the same as years past. And you never know who's going to come through the door for a marriage license. You just kind of guess on those two things.
So to follow up with that, Carrie, if I may, this amount, this actual amount in 24-25, you're saying for those marriage and dog licenses, that's what we're paying the state for our licenses?
Yes, we.
And is there, like, I don't know, I can't remember now what it is, but so like, say it's like, $100 for a license and you just send $50 to the state and then the town gets the other 50 or
That's exactly
something like that?
But different numbers. But yes, the town keeps a portion, a small portion. State gets a larger portion.
Oh, yeah, I saw it in the income, in your revenue, right? Or
Right.
income? Right. Yeah, okay, perfect, thanks.
Our cost of Nimerick is up slightly. Property maps level funded. The web surface and software, that took a significant jump. Bill, that you're in?
We have a lot more software that we are using, and licenses are more people using them. So it's just a function of users times licenses times costs.
And then we get into emergency management. The emergency management, so we put in some money for equipment. Emergency manager, generator, maintenance, that's the upkeep and maintenance on all the generators that are in town. The monies for the senior get-togethers and stuff have been moved out of the general budget into my pros budget. And appraisal update is nothing there. This was contribution to the circle is the same, and the reappraisal expenses is at 18,500. Marcia, I'm not sure why Marcia went up on that one. Why she asked for that additional. Okay. I don't think she was here. We had it.
I think we're anticipating, well, we know the state has told us to reappraise. Marcia and the listers did put out a request for proposals to conduct reappraisal and got absolutely no company to bid on it. And in part because we have an older system, we have the NEMRIC system instead of the newer Patriot system, which the appraisal companies are used to. So at some point, and we're not required to reappraise until 2029. And I think that's been slid even further.
Maybe into 30 or 31.
Yeah, I think it's been slid for a couple more years. Every town in Vermont practically is, well, you saw the figures from the school board, is going to be required to reappraise fairly soon because everything is out of whack. So we're anticipating it's going to hit us. We're putting some money aside.
Sure. I think that comes from, there's a reappraisal income.
Yeah.
Right.
That money gets moved to a separate account.
That was it.
And we never accounted for the expense.
Okay, that's
The
right.
expense moving out of general budget.
Right. So every year,
It's not an expense, it's zero.
Right. Yeah. So every year the town gets some money toward reappraisal. And in the general budget, when you have an income side, you need to have an expense side. And we realized that we never put an expense side, and that money is moved into an account for reappraisal. And it'll be in the town report with the balances. And the purpose of that is the state gives the town money based on whatever criteria they use. I'm not sure exactly what that is. And that allows us to put money aside to hire a firm. And I do believe with the reappraisal, what Marcia said, is there are a limited number of people of firms within the state that the state will allow to do reappraisal. So you can't just pick. And so these firms have to do the whole state, and they want everybody done, but there's only certain, you can only do so much at once. And so that's it. The state has really created a situation that is almost unfixable. And I think we get penalized on the other end, but hopefully they do everything equally. The last page of our expenses is the Lister education, and that went up slightly. The next item is bank charges. And what this actually is for is if the town had to borrow money, there would be an amount set in there. We do not borrow money in anticipation of taxes like we used to, so there is no bank charge. Administrator training is a new item, and this will allow Bill to learn more things so he can get more jobs. We can give him more stuff. The last few items are new in the last few years, and these are the public safety building expenses. We are coming into not quite a full year, well, will be a full year as of February of this year. These are amounts that we basically took a guess at, and as time goes by, these will become with use of the building more finalized, and we'll have a better idea. But the electricity in the building is for a full year, where last year it was only a partial year. So we're looking at a 12-month versus probably a 5-month section, 5 to 7 month section. So, and we come up with a total expenses of $1,433,718. That, given the income on the first page and a half, and you minus the expenses, we come out with 445,332, which would be anticipated over what the actual expenses of the general budget are. We do not try to make this zero out because in the event that the anticipated incomes don't meet their goals that we set, for whatever reason, we don't want to come out without enough money to run the general budget, and that would not, then we'd start looking for money. So that's the general budget. Thank you.
Article 2. Shall the voters authorize the select board to raise by taxes an amount not to exceed $763,786 and no dollars for use for the operation of the police fund budget?
Okay, we have our police chief and deputy chief here. So we have the budget and they will walk through both revenues and expenditures.
Good evening. Social Security went up slightly. Social Security went up. Police chief salary, 3% raise. All of our, the next one is outside detail. We're not doing that anymore. Deputy chief salary, you'll see, went down from 81 to 10. That's because I am retiring this year. I will go away. Deputy Chief Washington will become the chief. So in looking forward, we need some money in that line to promote somebody else and give Deputy Chief Washington time to try out different officers to see if they want to be sergeants, whatever he wants to do with the department at that point in time. It's just a little foresight. And that's why we did that. First officer, we increased all the officers' positions to 70,000. Level 3 certified, that means there's 3 different categories: level 1, level 2, level 2E, and level 3. And level 3 is they can soup to nuts. They can do all the criminal investigation after felonies, misdemeanors, whatever happens to come along. We can do that. Overtime, we kept it at 20. Child care contribution. Lynette, our administrative secretary, who keeps track of everything we do. She's a part-time dispatcher. She's our record keeper. She helps keep us on line with NCIC, National Crime Information Center, Vermont, BCIC. We have to write policies. She keeps track of all this stuff. She keeps everything organized because I'm not that organized. And but yeah, that's it. She does a lot of things there, so she's very necessary. Communications and contracts. We added the language contracts because we have basically 5. I can't remember them all. We have Taser. We have WatchGuard. Taser is our tasers. WatchGuard is our cameras here and cameras in the cruiser. We have to keep track of that stuff. We got APHIS machine, and we got 2 contracts with our printers and copiers, and they're set. So I mean, we have to have this money for the contracts, basically. Supplies and uniform costs almost probably $2,000 or $3,000 to outfit a new person with uniforms for the job. Equipment and contracts, same thing here. We have I can't remember all of that we have, but anyways, field maintenance kept the same. Training, 11,000. Health insurance went up slightly. Municipal retirement went up slightly. We went from, there's the Group C retirement and they have Group D. Group D retirement is for law enforcement, EMS, and firemen, full-time firemen. So therefore, if you're in one of those fields, it's 20 now. You can do your 20 years and start collecting your retirement at that point in time. And the town allowed us to go to that. That's where we're at there. K9 we kept at 4,000. Total expenses, 826. Then we got the subtotal and net total, 763, 756. Don't have a thing in there what that percentage increase. Do you have any questions besides that?
Are we hoping to get a 4th officer?
Yes, let me talk a little about. So I'm going to retire. We've already at the board allowed us to put in the police academy and online. town, to hire my position starting around April. So yeah, that's what that's for.
Okay. And then the increase in health insurance, I'm assuming because if you're adding an officer, that's an added benefit, not just the regular
You have
increase.
to
of the
plan
insurance,
for the
but-
family plan, which is almost $30,000 a year.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what you do. And it may be a single person, maybe a two-person. And
You have to budget. Yep. Good. Thank you.
The one thing at
Yes.
the income side.
Okay, the income side, the SRO school resource officer, it's 61,520. The school pays us for that position. The settlement funds are, if you remember COVID and we had the homeless shelter down at the 14 Inn, we used to really love that place, being facetious. And they were basically caused us a lot of problems. So at this point in time, town got a hold of them, they're at 250, and they were able to get them to give us money to help control that area in particular. And this is the funds that we have left over at this point in time. We've used the funds so far to buy countless hours of time down there, patrolling the Green Mountain Plaza and the southern end all together. And then also they purchased so far 2 cruisers for us. So, okay, by then. Thank you, the select board, and all you folks sticking up for us. Thanks for letting us get a new police station. It's absolutely fantastic. We have 2 interview rooms, one for bad guys, one for good people. We have a holding cell for those people that need it. We have interview room for the nice people. We all have offices, big patrol room. We have an APHIS machine. If anyone needs to get fingerprinted, your town resident, I think the select board they want us to be able to do the town people for free. That costs us like costs you guys 22,000, plus it's another $3,000, 2 or 3 grand every year for maintenance on that machine. Yeah, we really thank you for letting us do this. As fire department have been great to us. We get along really great most of the time, I think. And said it to me anyway, so really appreciate those guys too. And you guys, thank you very much. Any more questions?
All right, Article 3, shall the voters authorize select board raised by taxes an amount not to exceed $1,211,866 and no dollars for use towards the operation of the highway fund budget.
All right, start at the top, I guess, with the revenues. Vermont state aid, the state pays us for our road miles, 58 road miles, and they pay us a percentage. The 120,000 is just kind of the number because it goes up and it goes down and it is what it is. The next one down is state grants. Put an asterisk next to this one because we'll get to that in a second. It's $200,000 grant that we got from the state for a structures grant for the culvert on Stratton Road, just as you leave the town down in the dip. It's coming park. So that is our revenue. As we start down the list, winter de-icer, I raised that $5,000. It's been $130 for a while. And we went over last year, over this year, and salt's going to be anticipating over $100 a ton this coming year. I got it for 95 this year, but it'll be more next year. So funded a bunch of stuff. Come down to new equipment. It's 045026. So we're looking at trying to be a little bit more proactive with our winter response. So we're looking at putting up some weather stations, kind of like the state has, but not quite as fancy. Those stations are like 15 to 30 grand. So I found a company that they own the equipment. It's $3,200 per unit per year for a lease. If anything goes wrong with it, they fix it, they send it back. And we got a discount for multi-units and multi-years. So that came out to $14,000.
So that's, the increase there, from the 2000 to the 16 is for the weather stations. And then we go to, 2 lines down is 045028 culvert replacement. This is where the asterisk comes back in. That line goes up to 350,000, because that is the culvert replacement on Stratton Road. So 200 of that 350,000 is the grant. We had to show that 200,000 so that it plays out down through the list. So the engineer's estimate on the culvert is 500,000. We got a grant for 200,000. That means we got to come up with another 100 or 300. So the original for budgeted amount was 70,000 the past couple of years. So I added another 80 to that to give us that 150. We still, the select board at some point is going to have to come up with the other 150 or hopefully less.
Not us personally.
Well, we've talked about that. So that kind of drives this budget in an ugly way, but it's work that has to be done. Retreatment, which is paving. I increased that from 250,000 to 300,000. That was 300,000 back years ago. I think it was around 2021. It got reduced to the 250,000. So I'm just trying to get it back up there so we can, again, everything costs more these days. Slide down the line, then we get into the Social Security, municipal retirement, health insurance, all that stuff that everybody's already talked about. Salaries, again. Equipment maintenance, equipment vehicle maintenance. I raised that 5,000. We're doing a lot of our own maintenance in-house now. Whatever brake jobs, we're not doing tires, but we can't do that. But, anything that we can do, we're doing in-house. So we just need a little bit more cash flow. For positions, building maintenance. So this one's a big one for me. I raised it $2,500. For those of you that don't know, I worked for the city for 18 years, and they live and die by deferred maintenance, and mostly die by it. And I just don't want to get placed. I mean, we're in a nice building, and I'll keep it that way. And that's where we are. Yes.
Dave, your answer line item, it's not keeping up with what's actually costing. Why don't you just up the amount each year now? The match your expenses.
Because that'd be a huge increase.
Somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, that would, like the last couple winters, this winter and last winter were brutal. Next winter might not be. So that's why my thought was to just kind of increase it a little bit at a time. And I kind of went easy because I know that this culvert thing is going to be huge at the bottom line of this thing. So I tried to increase everything as little as possible just so that it didn't get worse.
It seems like there's a lot more niggly storms. Just
Oh yeah.
not much, but they still need crews out.
Yeah, we've been out 30 times this year. Middle of January.
How much is asphalt now per ton of place? Or what was it last summer?
It was 84 in place. For top. 84 and, no, 84 for base, 86 for top. 84 and 86.
I just wanted to ask, so we have you obviously as the road commissioner and 3 full-time people, is that correct?
Correct.
And then like during the winter, you contract out to help plow
We do.
roads
Yes.
for the,
Right.
and that's that winter contractors or whatever it said. Okay, thanks.
Why do you think you need weather stations?
I live 40 miles away. Trying to keep track of all of this stuff from 40 miles away gets kind of tricky sometimes. It was an idea that I came across one day, and I'm like, this is kind of neat. It would really help us to be able to see what's actually happening on East Pittsburgh Road, because as you know, how many microclimates? There's 5, 6 microclimates here. It'd be nice to know what's happening on Creek Road and what's happening on East Pittsburgh Road in real time. It would be helpful. It would help our responses.
Is the public allowed to look at those, weather stations? Look at it?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to buy people. I'm not sure what the word is.
Licenses?
So, yeah.
It was unlimited to add people for that one.
Hmm?
Pretty sure it was unlimited to add.
Maybe it was that one. I've looked at a couple different ones, so that one might have been.
The other 2 hours away, you can't figure out what's going on East Pittsburgh Road and, without driving around on a Saturday morning.
They are linkable to, right?
What's that?
They're linkable to, if other towns have.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
can communicate data between other of the same stations around. So if Westmoreland had some or any other town, we could kind of know what was going on.
Is there anyone else in the area using them other than the state? States are quitting. They're a lot.
They're way bigger, but the only ones in the state of Vermont are Bristol and Dover. They love it.
And we would look at Glens Falls.
Yeah, I think Glens Falls and
That's where our,
Saratoga Springs is the other one in this.
You know roughly how many tons of salt we purchased so far this year?
I'm gonna say probably 800 to 900. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Ballot items or?
What's that?
We'll go through. I know there's one on here for the loader, but I think Dave's sticking around for that one too.
Just one note I wanted to make at the end of Dave's budget, the amount to be raised by taxes, $1,211,866. And those numbers for the grants were added in and then deducted, so that we come up with the net amount to be raised by taxes. Just 1 year I missed that.
Oh, another question. Do you have any plans for that? For that $7,500 for building maintenance? Is there
No, nothing
specific,
planned.
nothing specific.
No.
This time.
Nothing's falling apart that bad yet.
Huh?
Nothing's falling apart that bad yet.
Article 4, shall the voters authorize the select board to raise by taxes an amount not to exceed $266,444, no cents, for the use towards operating of the fire fund budget.
Fire Chief Chris Clark.
By the way, I voted no for this, without our own budget. This year I tried to keep our budget pretty close to what it was last year. I think it went up like 1.4%, 1.5%. Everything pretty much stayed the same, except for if you look at like administrative salaries or regular salaries. There's two different things. Regular salaries is whenever we go to a fire call, you get points. Administrative salaries is if one of us does something that's not a fire call, like we have to do all the paperwork and stuff like that, you get a time card and put in for that. This is for one building now. We're just doing Center Rutland Station because the the new station, Joey talked about in the other budget, since it's shared, combined with the police department, we're splitting that with the other budget. So anyway, everything else pretty much stayed the same. A couple things went down. Daytime call response, that also went up with the 3%. And what that is, I don't know if everybody knows about that. If we go on a call during the day, Monday through Friday, between 7 and like 4:30, we actually get paid for it, trying to get more people to respond to calls. So we don't just have one or two people. So that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. You guys can see all the numbers, correct? Marcia, you got anything for me?
It's okay.
Hold on. All day for this, Marcia. Anybody else?
Your telephone and internet, is that a separate system from the police department? You have one?
It's separate, but there's two lines going in, one each side.
It's a whole interconnected system now. You can call the town clerk's office and you can be connected to any department in town through the town clerks. All part of the, is it through Consolidated Bill?
Yes.
Yeah. Bill did endless amounts of work to get this set up for us. And it allows you to dial one number and you can get the non-emergency, police, fire. It'll dial the backup, and it dials every, you can go through one. So this phone and internet is, I believe, for a center station, right?
It is.
Yes, it's because the other station's all part of the municipal building. The numbers I gave you from the general. So everything that has to do that is shared at new municipal building is shown in the general budget because there's no way to split it between police and fire. So we just took it over as a general expense to the town. So the utilities on this page are pretty much just for center station. And the maintenance is for center station.
The chief will be back up here, don't know this, to address the quarter cent increase in the depreciation account, but that's later on the ballot. Way at the end.
I might be home.
Good job, Chris.
All right.
Thank you, Chris.
Article 5, shall the voters authorize the select board to raise by taxes an amount not exceeding $570 be used towards the operation of the recreation fund budget?
Mike Rowe, our town rec director.
Good evening, all. How are you? You are ready to stand up and stretch? Yes. Down long enough. Chris, by the way, that was impressive. Okay, you want to do mine? Because that would be great. So, looking at mine, as far as income that were proposed, we have been seeing an uptick in our participation for our sports programs. Also, this year we are increasing the fees to the pool for non-residents. Residents will stay the same. So we're increasing that to be on par with the local area. Okay, so that will increase as well. So that's where our generator, looking at 35 grand as an increase. Moving down to our expenses, again, the 3% raise. Our pool, we also relabeled some of these categories. The 5013 lifeguard / pool staff, you'll see that that's increased. We increased the lifeguard salary, money for the lifeguard salaries, because as you know, minimum wage went up to almost $14.50. Plus, we're including an assistant aquatic director who will be in charge of during swim lessons and when our groups are in. Also, the goal is that this person will be certified to certify lifeguards. It's becoming very hard to train lifeguards, especially with what happened with the city rec department and the YES plan. So we have a person that is a former head guard at our pool and a town resident who is looking into and going to take the course required to recertify our lifeguards and or to certify lifeguards so that we don't have to worry about that in the future. Now that'll either happen soon or as soon as we're able to find the courses for this person to do that. So that fee is included into the lifeguards and the pool staff. That's why that went. We took that out of maintenance labor. We're also hiring somebody for Dewey. As you know, Chuck Hall was our longtime person there for a while. He got ill and was unable to, and I filled in for the year. And now we will have somebody that will take that job on with a step salary and what have you for doing the work that people have done in the past over at Dewey. So that's why those have changed theirs. Umpires and referees, it's hard to find people, so that's an increase. Obviously, Social Security, electricity, telephone, internet, nothing gets cheaper anymore. Chemicals, again, the pool chemicals are very expensive. Our electricity, just so you know, just so you have an idea, when we turn on the pump for the pool, my electric bill at the pool goes from $53 through the winter to $2,500 a month for one pump. So that's why our electricity is really high in our budget. And if you're wondering, so 3 or 4 months of paying that amount, that is why. And electricity is not going to become cheaper, as we know. So that's why electricity goes up as well, and chemicals as well. We took supplies maintenance went up a little bit. Like most anything, things are getting expensive. On the back page, we took and combined, we used to have 2 miscellaneous categories, and we just took and combined them into one for multiple things. Could be for training, could be for excess cost of chemicals, what have you. Anything that you would need a surplus, a small surplus for miscellaneous one. We did the same thing for our plumbing. It used to be broken out into Dewey Field and Northwood, and we just made it a plumbing category. We just took the fees and combined them into one. Make it a little bit more smooth and make it more sense. Everything else looking down stayed essentially the same. The social activities, as you know, as Joe alluded to, our senior group that moved last year into the rep budget, and that is where they are located for our senior activities, which have been improving. And I'll say a big thank you to Jeff and Stan Blipkhart today. We had a second grab and go lunch today. I'm looking through the crowd, and some of you are more than welcome to join that crowd. If you'd like to, Joe, you're more than welcome. There are some of you, Ed, you are now in that category. Just gotta let me know if you want it. We're doing that on the Tuesdays for 8 weeks from January to February, and it's been, we started with 40 last week, and we served 60 today. We sent on about over 60 today. And next week is spaghetti meatballs with Sharon and I, and we're gonna probably hit the 70 mark. So it's great. It gets the seniors in. This is just one simple thing that I've tried with them, and they love coming in. And the goal is to get it and bring it to a neighbor who can't get out or what have you. So all I ask is for a number, and we know how to prepare. And then we have the celebrity cooks in the town that have taken on the task of cooking the meals for our seniors. That's one thing, big trips and different things. So if you are a senior and not in the group, you're more than welcome to be in the group. I put it in the circle. You can just give me a call, send me your email, and we'll get you all signed up. You can join all our fun activities that we do. So that's where that ended up. Very successful. Other than that, the only other thing, food went up a little bit. And other than that, down at the bottom, as far as health insurance. So when we created the full-time position for me last year, we never put in health insurance for them. So this year we did. Now, I don't take the insurance because I'm on my wife's insurance. But if, God forbid, something were to happen, or the next person comes in, and then again, they need insurance, it's in the budget now. So otherwise, my budget went up about 3%. Overall, it went up about 14 because we had that. That is why it's a little higher than before. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
You got money enough in for equipment maintenance? You've got one lawn now that's old, you're still running.
Oh, it's running.
Yeah.
They're all running. The great thing is, as
you
lost
the motor and your tractor.
Well, the tractor.
Is that highway or is that?
Well, so that's a funny thing you mentioned that. So your nephew there went and we got a deal We were planning to pay for, it out of both depreciation accounts. We got a deal, he went and worked a deal with United Ag, and it's gonna cost us a third of what it would cost for dropping in a brand new motor for it, and so then we should be all set with that. As far as maintenance, you started when I moved along as far as sharpening blades and stuff like that for my simple machines. Dave and his crew has done that. That is on my list to learn how to do this spring so that I can end up doing that. Other than that, you guys have kept our equipment in great shape. So knock on wood, it will continue that way. So no, as far as that, I do not have that per se. And I've been very fortunate. I'll pay for the parts, and then, as you had done, worked on stuff.
Buff, do you have a number in mind as to the life expectancy of the pool that we have now?
Great question. If you look at
10 years ago, right?
Yeah, about 10 years ago, I had it replaced. I put in the circle, or I put in a couple of spots that we are now. I've already had conversations with 2 pool companies, and we're in the process, starting the process of coming up with a plan. So we've asked in those circles that if you're interested in being on that committee, then I would love it. The ballpark range right now is from the concrete in from the 2 companies is about 1.5 to replace the pool. Completely dig it out, replace the pool. That doesn't include upgrades to the building or building a new pump house. We did pretty much determine that it will go in its existing place because everything is already there. Electric, water, everything is there. So it makes sense in talking with those 2 companies that rather than building it in a different spot, we would have to put up a whole brand new building, run in water, run in electric, run in everything that's going to new septic, new everything. So that's kind of where we're at. We're in the trying to get plans so that when we get people involved, we can start moving forward and then start planning. 3 years, maybe 4. I don't know. It depends. The pool's going to tell us when it's time, because eventually it won't keep water or it will fall in or what have you. But right now it's good, but we're being proactive to move forward because it is a process that you just don't do overnight.
In 3 to 4 years, where will your depreciation account be?
In 3 or 4 years, I'm hoping that it's close to $1 million. If not a little bit more. That's if nothing catastrophic. Well, I don't have much that could go catastrophically wrong in my department. That would require.
It's the pool catastrophically failed now.
Yeah, if the pool catastrophically fails now, and in conversation with the companies, when the city built theirs, and that took 2 summers, and we housed them those 2 summers. One of the things I have with the conversation with 2 pool companies is that, okay, you can start a little early. You can start like the 2nd, 3rd week of August, but I can't miss a season, and they essentially have it down pat with that one. So we should miss a season of swimming with what we're gonna do. So that was a positive thing here. But then again, Mother Nature does control climate. That makes sense. But yes, I am in the process of moving. So if people want to help out, love to hear your thoughts on what you kind of want to design. The blueprint, the footprint is already pretty much there.
Can they put that up for a vote too, like in a year or 2, like they did the?
That would be up. That's up. That's up to them. Once I find information and be like, okay, because it's essentially once we have a plan, like Chris, once we have a plan, then we can then look for grants. Yep. So if we're shovel ready, then I can start to be like, oh, can I get a grant from here? Can I get a grant from there? And then we could kind of move it a little bit quicker. I did ask in those 2 companies, is there a lead time? Because someone had told me, you might be looking at 3 years before you get your pool built. And those 2 companies are no. If you wanted to build it next year, we can build it next year. So that's a positive thing too. So again, we're in the infant stages. Some of you were around when it was built the first time. A little bit different this time, but same kind of process. So if you're willing or wanting to help out, please just reach out. Because I'd like the community input on what it will end up looking like in the end. Anybody have any other questions?
Just a quick point, Chris, one of the reasons when we went to bond for this McKinley Avenue Public Safety Building, we did a 10-year bond. so that we would have it paid off, hopefully in time, if we needed to add a bond to help with the swimming pool.
Right.
We clear it out of the way, because centers should be paid off. It's close, but, and fingers are crossed, but that's what we were hoping for.
I mean, the bonus part is that with the depreciation fund that you guys voted on a couple years ago, we've increased our depreciation to reduce the amount that we would have to borrow in the end.
And if we go to bond, we have to go to the voters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
There is,
I'm getting tired, I'm sorry. It's a lot faster today.
so non-property, if there's students speak to these, no. Article 6, shall the town of Rutland raise by taxes an amount not to exceed $535 and no dollars for support, for supporting the work of Vermont Center for Independent Living for the year 2026. Article 7, shall the town of Rutland raise by taxes an amount not to exceed $670 and no dollars for the support, towards working, I also had a long day at school.
Take your time, take a deep breath.
Yeah. For supporting the work of the retired senior volunteer service for the year 2026. Shall the town of Rutland raise by taxes an amount not to exceed $500 and no dollars towards supporting the work of ARC for the year 2026? Shall the town of Rutland raise by taxes an amount not to exceed $1,500 no dollars for supporting the work of the Southwestern Vermont Council of Aging, Inc. for the elderly citizens of Rutland Town for the year 2026. Article 10, shall the town of Rutland raise by taxes an amount not to exceed $3,000 and no dollars for supporting the work of the Child's First Advocacy Center for the year 2026. Article 11, shall the town of Rutland vote to raise, appropriate, and expend the sum of $3,088.50 and no dollars for the support of the partial funding of the Marble Valley Regional Districts Transit Districts public transit service to the residents of the town for the year 2026. Shall the town of Rutland appropriate $4,094 and no dollars to the Chamber and Economic Development of the Rutland region, along with area businesses and municipalities, with the ultimate goal of growing the economy in our region for the year 2026. Article 13, shall the town of Rutland raise by taxes an amount not to exceed $4,502 and no dollars for supporting the work of Rutland Mental Health for the year 2026. Article 14, shall the town of Rutland raise by taxes an amount not to exceed $8,470 and no dollars for supporting the work of the VNA and Hospice of the Southwest region for the year 2026. Article 15, shall the voters authorize the select board to raise by taxes the sum of money not to exceed $15,000 and no dollars for scholarships to be awarded to worthy 2026 high school graduates of the town of Rutland who will reside in the town for at least 2 years and wish to attend institutions of higher learning.
May I, very briefly, please support this. This is something that you authorized the select board to set up a selection process. We have incredible students who are going on for higher education. This is our chance to meet them and to give them a little money so that they can cover some of the costs of education. Mike's got a word.
Can I just ask one question? Has there ever been a thought of going back for more years of living in the town? There are kids that have been since pre-K, and if you come in and for the last 2 years, you know, if you're a junior in a senior year, you never went through this school, I would just ask that maybe we consider making it, expanding the time that you've been in the town before you're giving them a chunk of money, where being a teacher here, I would never have seen that student if they only have to be 2 years. it was their junior and senior year, I think it would be something to look at, maybe going further back so that they actually might have attended this school in the process. It's just
We do have a scholarship committee of the select board, and we reconstitute the board every year in another month or so. So that's a good question for them to take a look at. Yep.
So board members that are on the committee, Mary?
There's usually 2 select board members, yes.
Just 2 and that's the it of the committee?
2,
Is there
and
other
then
people?
they do the screening, they go through the applications, they get the word out to the guidance departments, area schools, and then they make a recommendation on how the funds should be split among whoever applies.
And how do we?
And then the full select board then votes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I would second what Mike says too, because I'm
Okay.
and born and raised here
Okay.
for a number of years. That I'm just wondering how we get that across to, like, once we find out who the scholarship people are, then we reach out to the select board people that are the scholarship people and.
The scholarship committee of the select board, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And actually, we're probably all right here. So you made your point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Article 16, shall the town of Rutland raise by taxes a sum of money not to exceed $15,696 towards the operating costs of the regional ambulance service for the year 2026. Article 17, shall the town of Rutland continue its participation in the Rutland Free Library Association and to raise by taxes an amount not to exceed $113,999 and no dollars for the year 2026. Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, all. I'm going to keep this pretty brief. I printed out a whole bunch of our info sheets, so the details are over there. Our budget's up 3.5% this year. And different from previous years, we are not going to come close to meeting our budget. We are going to go way, way over our budget, and all that money is going to go into the building. And I hear you talking about the city deferring maintenance. We are a living example of that. But all that money is going to come out of the money that we have been saving to try to work on our new building. It's not going to come out of your tax dollars. Our money raised by taxes is almost $1 million. When you look at all of our towns, 90% of that comes from the city. And our budget for staffing, benefits, and administrative costs is about $1 million. So that works out about even. We have the Nellie Fox Fund that we're going to be dipping into to the tune of $250,000. And that is restricted. We can only spend that on materials and programs. So that's a second piece of our budget. That's a huge benefit. I don't know how libraries that don't have a fund like that get by. That was money that was donated many years ago by Nellie Fox. And so that balances out. And then the third piece is the building. To make the budget balance at 3.5%, I put in a $10,000 repair line for our building. So far this year, we have spent about $30,000 on repairs, and we're about halfway through the year, so it's going to come out around $60,000. And that's why we're going to be over budget. But again, all that money is coming out of our savings and not your tax dollars. Your tax dollars, aside from things like, cleaning supplies for the floor, do not go to the city building. And so it's a different way of doing our budget this year, but I think it makes sense for the town. Happy to answer any questions. Always happy to talk about the library.
Randall, we
Yes,
have
ma'am.
2 representatives from the town.
We do.
The board, who are they?
We have Bill and Fern here, and that is on the little sheet. Over the years, we had concerns that the town reps were not chosen by the select board. So both these folks were put forward by the select board of Rutland Town. We're super excited to have them on. And Fern in particular last year was our rep that showed up to the Rutland Town Day and sold a whole bunch of tickets for the quilt raffle. And we appreciate the support. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Christmas present.
Article 18, shall the town of Rutland vote to appropriate the sum of $3,900 to support the programs and services of Brock Community Action in 2026? Article 19, shall the town of Rutland vote to appropriate and expend the sum of $4,500 to support Wonder Feet Kids Museum to provide services to residents of Rutland Town? Article 20, shall the town of Rutland vote to raise, appropriate, and expend the sum of $3,000 and no dollars for the support of the Boys and Girls Club of Rutland County to provide services to residents of the town? Article 21, shall the voters of the town of Rutland authorize an increase in the funding rate of fire department depreciation fund for the replacement, repair, and or maintenance of fire equipment and infrastructure from the present rate of 0.0175 per $100 to the rate of 0.02 per 100 of assessed property valuation.
Chief Chris Clark, would you like to come up and address this?
Totally.
I'm just asking to raise that up 0.25% just for future purchases. So we don't need anything now, but past everything going up, we won't have enough money for replacing equipment in the future. So that's the reason for that.
What we've asked fire, police, and highway to do is to produce spreadsheets showing when they anticipate having to replace a major piece of equipment. And they project it out over the years, they project the cost out, and then they compare it with what we project the income from the depreciation fund will be when the money is needed. We did this for the fire department. Chris and his folks did this, and Bill, and realized that we were falling a little bit behind and projecting when we need to buy our next piece of fire equipment, we're going to fall short. So that's why the request of a 1/4 cent increase is on the ballot. So we're staying up with inflation.
Did your spreadsheet allow for the increase in the grand list when we get reappraised?
No, it did not.
Why haven't you taken into consideration increases, even normal increases in your grand list, in your calculations?
That's a good question.
Probably because I think, Byron, inflation eats that up. Trying to project future costs of the trucks is incredible. It's just in 2013, we purchased a truck for $365,000. And then 2 years later, I think that's when engine one was replaced, it was $565. So this is why we've left that portion of it out, because if you try to make this too finite and go at it from both ends, you may end up coming up short. So at 2 cents, I don't believe the town would be able to replace. They'll be close to the guideline that Chris works with is about a 24-year lifespan on a piece of equipment. And it's just that they've accelerated to the point where it's hardly to keep up with it. Reality may be at some point that the town may have to look at eliminating something to be able to keep making these numbers work. We have been fortunate since the town started the fire department in 1967 that we've never had to borrow money for trucks except for that first initial layout. And then when the select board, I think it was 1972, adopted the depreciation fund, it's there, and we adopted that through the other departments. And it's kind of the same thing as when we look at the 1% monies. The last 3 years, they've been running 100,000, 200,000 over our projected amount, but we hesitate to try to increase that because I don't know, the town would be kind of against a rock or against a wall if we come up short. And if we see a significant increase in the grand list in multiple years, then we may be able to adjust it. There was one point, I do believe, where the fire department, depreciation fund actually went down. We decreased it at one point, voters voted on it, because I think that, grand list and growth in the town for a particular portion of time was more than anticipated, so they were raising way more money and it went back. But we just, it's just any piece of equipment that we keep buying, it's just, there's so many, especially with fire, there's so many requirements by NFPA, and it's just hard to project what a truck will cost. So he's trying to squeeze all the life out of them. Some trucks have just been replaced with pickups with nothing special, just try to keep the cost down. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I think if our grand list did show a really significant increase, then, and it was continual, you might be able to do that. But by the time you get out 8 or 10 or 12 years, that increase may be eaten up by inflation. And so we're trying not to go at it from both sides.
Have you done any calculations at all? Have you sat down and just pretended, let's say this happens, and then factor that all up to see what that actually is going to do?
We apply it to the grand list currently. That's the answer.
Let's factor in a 0.25% increase in your grand list and just factor that out and see where you're at.
Be happy to take a look at those numbers, but I don't think that should stop the voters from considering.
But that should have been done before we got here tonight.
Well,
that's the point.
Byron, I think when we were doing the highway schedules, I don't think we had that factor in it. So this would be a new something that we haven't done yet. So give us a chance to do it. It is not a bad suggestion, but we haven't done it with the schedules that we have in place. And we do these, we redo these schedules periodically. So let us, and if all goes well and Diamond One Mall, the new super Walmart comes in, there's going to be another significant increase in the grand list. So do we factor that at 2% or do we factor that looking into the future? So there's a lot of moving parts to that, but I don't disagree with the concept. We just haven't done it yet. Don't hold your vote waiting for us to do it, because we're right on the verge here.
Thank you. 22, the voters of the town of Rutland authorized the purchase of a new excavator and trailer for the highway department for the town of Rutland with an estimated purchase price of $165,000. We paid by raising taxes in the amount of $165,000.
So I've been here 4 years. The town doesn't have an excavator or a way to dig holes. There's a lot of maintenance that we need to do that we've been doing. My first year here, we rented. We rented every year, but the first year I was trying to rent from G-Stone. They would have a machine, you can have it for a month, but might need it for a couple more days. You'd be like, well, I got it rented. Next Monday, has to come back. It's Rick McCurrier was doing some digging for the town prior to me getting here. A couple times I tried to get him. He was off in Maine on vacation or whatever. Couldn't get him for a couple weeks. It's a problem not to be able to do this stuff when we need to. So I've been renting for the next 3 years, and nothing's free, and it's like $4,000 a month to rent a machine. At some point, you got to stop throwing good money after bad. So myself and Joe and Kurt, the highway committee, spent probably a year and a half now trying to spec the right machine for what we need for now and for going forward. If you look at the fire department, the police department, everything is getting bigger. The town is getting bigger. So we tried to spec a machine that we could use into the future and not get something that would have for 2 years and be like, oh man, this thing's too small. You know, if we get this machine, it'll be around here for 20 years, most likely. That's kind of where we are.
But that's why you rent the machine. Just this year, you might need a 12,000 pound machine and do everything you've got because all you have are small projects. Next year, you might need something bigger, so you go rent something bigger. You get what you need to do the project at the time. The other thing you need to do is get yourself a little more organized, get your stuff done, pack your stuff together, get your stuff done. Get it done in a month, get it done in a month. But no, you don't need $165,000 to buy an excavator. I won't vote for that. I won't support it.
So, this machine that we looked at is, 23,000 pound machine. It is big enough to load the trucks. It's big enough to do ditching. And Dave said it's looking into this, you know, where the town is. A number of years ago, Byron, you presented a plan to the town to move forward with a full-time crew and do the winter maintenance. And we start this incrementally. 7-yard truck was purchased. The road crew was increased by a third person. We've increased the road crew now to 4 people. And we are moving forward. Dave does not have much work that's hired out anymore. We're doing pretty much that plan of the full-time crew with full-time equipment. And I understand your point that you can rent equipment to the size of the project. And that goes if you can schedule equipment and schedule a project, but we all know that Vermont weather and circumstances don't allow that. So in the process of coming up with this machine, Dave, Kurt, and myself, we spent a long time looking at what the town is doing, what we could possibly look into the crystal ball toward the future and where the town might be. And so this is a pretty good mid-sized machine that would do everything. And it gets us away from the rental fees because I projected costs over a 20-year period. And I used the loader that we have that was purchased 20 years ago that with good maintenance and good care, a piece of equipment will make the 20 years. If we are spending on average $15,000 a year for rentals or thereabouts, and that's on the short end over a 20-year period, we will have spent over $300,000 on a machine. And we can get machines, you know, if you get a bigger machine, it's going to cost more. And so we, as a committee, thought it would be more economical to purchase a machine. This machine originally was going to be purchased a year ago in March or April, and we were going to use funds out of the highway carryover. There was a little over 325,000 in there, and we thought we could just purchase the machine out of that, and it was 147 for the machine and trailer. But the board voted to not do that and instead put that money towards the reclaim of the East Pittsburgh Road. That was not, I don't believe, the better way to go, because by waiting, the machine is now going to cost us at least 10% more. And so that's why we are trying to get away from renting, trying to go to owning, and the machine is available all the time, summer and winter. And you can do projects if the weather doesn't, if you rent a machine for a month and you lose 2 weeks or a week because of weather, severe storms, you lose that window of opportunity. And I understand what you're saying. You could try to get everything done, but in a perfect world, that would be okay. But it just, I don't see that happening. And we thought as a committee, having the flexibility of having the machine in-house was the best way to go. And that's why we're asking to do this. We're looking long-term for the town, 20 years. The town is growing. We are doing more and more stuff in-house. Very little is getting contracted out, and we're trying to go, we're actually following that roadmap that you had presented to the board years ago. And I think we're headed in a really good direction like this. It is a large amount of money, but I do believe over the life of the machine, it is a more economical way to go. And if I just think it's a good way. We've looked at this at 100 different ways and we thought this was the best approach. You buy something too small and it's hard to load the trucks. If you're doing roadside ditching, it's hard to load into the trucks. If you buy something too big, it becomes cumbersome and it doesn't work. You run equipment all your life. You know what I'm talking here. So we just think that this is a good machine and this is a good time to move forward with it. The projects are there. I know there's a multitude of things that I don't even know what Dave has to do. I know that some of our sewer infrastructure needs manholes and stuff need to be redone. And it's just nice to have a machine that you can move and you don't rely on the availability of machine. And that's why we chose to present this to the board and present it to the voters and hopefully they'll decide favorably to do this. If not, we'll continue to run a machine.
So first of all, had you gone and used money and purchased, made a capital purchase without voter approval, that would have been illegal. You can't do that. You can't make capital purchases without voter approval. That's why the municipal leasing program came into being, because the companies you can enter into a lease, and by the voters approving that budget, that lease is then approved every year. If the budget ever failed, then the lease immediately is ended and that piece of equipment, truck or whatever, immediately goes back. That's how that works. That's how municipalities have gotten around capital purchases and not going to the voters to get those. That's how select boards have done that. But the voters still have the ultimate say by voting for that budget every year. So don't get it into your head that just because you got a little money left over, you can go out and spend it on a capital purchase, but you can't do it without voter approval. Secondly,
Mr.
So we need to get to the point.
I just want to be able to speak at some point.
Okay, yeah, sorry, just go ahead, yeah.
Like on the floor?
Sure, yes, yeah.
Secondly, we've had two projects in town Mr. Sears has done. Neither one of them have been done properly. So he hasn't proved to me yet that he can even run a machine, much less read blueprints or anything else to get the job done properly. So I can't support buying him and rewarding him an extra piece of equipment that he can't handle. Why should we do that? It makes no sense. You've got a sidewalk out front here that was not properly built. You let go $150,000 in state money, grant money to help pay for that because it was improperly built. You got a shared use path up at Northwood Park that doesn't even remotely look like it was supposed to have been built. That's supposed to be an ADA compliant path, and it's not. And it's not even finished. It's been told in the select board minutes that the board they took it off your project list because it's done. It's not done. And I'm telling you right now, you're going on notice right now. And Mary knows this because I talked with her last summer. I'm sending a notice to the state Act 50 people as well as stormwater people that you're in violation of those two permits. And whether the state will do anything about it or not, I don't know. That's in their ballpark. But when I go home tonight, the email is going to be sent out and you will be CC'd on that. And we'll see what the state does. But no, Dave, you haven't convinced me that you know what you're doing. So run a machine, show me what you can do and prove that. Then maybe I'll go along with it. Not till then.
Okay. First of all, we are putting it on the ballot for the voters to decide, Byron. We're not trying to sneak around and do anything. It's right there. We're asking the voters to decide. Secondly, you're absolutely right. You did flag for me last summer and we walked the current use path and the work that had been done. I brought it back and shared it with the highway committee, and there have been further investigations by the committee. And I am very well aware that we have to do it in compliance with the plans, or we're in violation of the blanket Act 250 permit granted for the Northwood Park area. You're not wrong about that. I'm saying these things because I really hope you give. We had a little update on this at our last meeting, and we have not yet signed off because Robert Clark, our engineer on the project, has not signed off. So it isn't over. I ask you to come in and talk to the select board and talk to the highway committee, give us a little more information as well. And then we have information to also give to Robert Clark. He can't really get out there probably to see until the spring.
Right.
So I would request that that email not go out yet, but that's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do or not to the state. But it is on our radar. We have not closed down the project.
So, for the record, I was the only selectman that voted no to put this on the ballot. I think I made the page of our Grand Ole Rutland Herald with it, actually. So our rental expense has been up the past few years. Because of this sidewalk project out front and the shared use path, we've been renting a machine more than maybe we would on normal years. So I wanted to hold off at least one more year, get one more summer in to see where our rental usage is actually going to lie. And we have to reassess these bigger projects to see if it makes sense for us to do them as a highway department, or if it makes more financial sense to just sub them out and get them done, get them finished up, get them signed off, get our grant money for them. So I would like to not see this on the ballot this year. Unfortunately, in the town of Rutland, yes, we can put this on the ballot and say that the people are going to have a choice. But when people show up in this town to the voting booth, they tend to just check yes. And that's a big concern to me, that these voters just check yes on these boxes all the time. And you people that are here tonight, I'm sure definitely put thought into what they're checking on. But if you look at the voter numbers after an election, you can tell there is a large amount of people that just check yes boxes and don't investigate what's going on. So I wanted to hold this off until we knew better how to handle the situation. But I was out.
Yeah,
Even if it's on the budget or on the ballot this year, we have the year that you're asking. Because we don't have, this doesn't come into effect until July 1st, and we have a year to assess that. And if we determine that, okay, we don't need to spend this money, we don't have to. And then that money can be turned back into toward the highway budget or whatever if the purchase is not made.
yeah, I have to say, he's right. He's the only one that did vote for it. But I went home and I was talking with my husband, who's also a farmer and also runs equipment. He said, why the hell don't you just rent the machine? He said, you know, you're going to be putting an awful lot of money in, and the only thing that happens with machinery is it breaks down. So I have to go along with Kurt. I would not support doing it. Not if we can wait a year. People's taxes are tough. Everything is going up. If we don't have to add more to people trying to choose between medicine, housing, you know, we just have to be fair. You know, we don't all make a fortune. And some people do, some people don't. But we have to care for the people that deserve a chance. And I don't think we're being fair if we don't.
Sorry. My question is, it says it's for the purchase of the trailer and the excavator.
Yes.
Do we have, and I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to this. Do we have something that would pull that trailer?
Yes.
And then would you have to have like a special license? Like I know there's like a CDL for like the big trucks. Sorry, my dad be so ashamed. Oh, anybody who knows me. Like I didn't know if you guys would have all that stuff so that you would be able to use the trailer.
And I have a class AC.
Okay. That was just my question, I guess. Thanks.
I have a question on it also. I personally believe that owning things are not renting. If it works out better, but what I haven't heard mentioned in this is what are the projected maintenance costs for this machine over the 20 years? Has that been filtered into this?
So just for that size machine, offhand from my knowledge and my business and maintaining my excavators, yearly just for filters and oil changes, you're probably looking at $1,500 a year in that. You're gonna have bucket teeth, which is gonna say yearly expense is another $800. You're gonna have fuel, and then as the machine ages, you're gonna have whatever else might pop up.
Fuel would be the same purchase.
Yeah.
The fuel end of it.
Yeah, we're gonna have more fuel, which is bigger excavator than what we normally rent.
More.
Right now, the town has a good opportunity on rental. We're able to rent a town taxpayer's machine. So it's local, it's easy to go get, and we might be able to switch to a weekly rental. So, we can get projects together, rent the machine for a week, bring it back, plan another set of projects, rent the machine for the week. So there's some different things that we might be able to do to try to get the rental costs down, just so the machine doesn't have any downtime. So I'd like to explore that a little bit more before we go to purchasing a machine.
Okay. 23, thank you. To elect the following town officers: a town clerk for a term of 3 years, a town treasurer for a term of 3 years, a moderator for a term of 1 year, a grand juror for a term of 1 year, a select board member for a term of 2 years, a select board member for a term of 3 years, a lister for a term of 3 years, a first constable for a term of 2 years, a cemetery commissioner for a term of 3 years, a cemetery commissioner for a term of 2 years, a school board member for a term of 2 years, and a school board member for a term of 3 years. And finally, 24, to transact any other necessary legal and proper business which may come before said meeting. Anything else? Great. Thank you very much.